Advisory Board regular meeting to order. Tim, you want to call the roll?
Are you ready?
Start. Yes.
Chair Dempsey,
Present.
Vice Chair Starley,
Present.
Member Lester, Member Mitchell,
Here.
Member Smizer,
Here.
Member Norval.
Here.
Do we have any public input? Would you introduce yourself?
Joe Zetzka from Airgate, and I can probably keep this short. My guess is the manager's report will probably touch on some of this stuff, so if there's an opportunity to engage then I can keep my comments short. I just wanted to briefly see
just
if
wait
we're gonna-
just 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
I think I see Celeste coming in.
Sorry.
That way she can get the benefit of your input. Did you say Good, Joseph Good?
Joe Zetzka from Airgate.
Yep. Go ahead, okay.
I was just going to see if we're going to get an update today on where we are on the approaches, particularly the night approaches, 2-5 in particular, and then where we are currently on how we're going to handle the project. We had to build a new building where the T hangars B and C were versus moving the concrete over and expanding the apron run-up area. So we're going to touch on those, and there'll be an opportunity to engage with you and maybe ask a couple questions. I don't need to make any more comments. Is that fair?
Yes, so we are going to talk about the approaches. I did not have it on the list to discuss the parking because I know you and I were going to meet and discuss
Okay.
it, so I had not.
We can hold that till later then.
Okay,
Yep,
it's
perfect.
yeah.
Okay, all right, so I'm good.
Okay. All right. Consent agenda? Consider the approval of the board minutes from May 26th. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? Does anybody have any changes that they would like to see made? I reviewed them and I was fine with them. Okay. So do we need someone to make a
Need a
motion
mover.
to approve those?
So move.
Second.
Chair Dempsey? Yea or nay?
Yes.
Vice Chair Starley,
Yes.
Member Mitchell,
Yes.
Member Lester,
Yes.
Member Smizer,
Yes.
Member Norval.
Yes.
And the second item, therefore, B, is consider the approval of the Airport Advisory Board workshop minutes from June 23rd.
I move that we approve those meetings, or rather those minutes.
Okay. Did everybody get a chance to look at them? It was a good write-up. It was
Thank you.
pretty much covered everything that we talked about. Okay. Of course, it changed in the follow-on meeting with the city, but that's fine too. All right. All right. Can we get a motion?
Second.
We need a motion to approve.
I think she
did.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right, Chair Dempsey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Starley,
Yes.
Member Mitchell,
Yes.
Member Lester,
Yeah.
Member Smizer,
Yes.
Member Norval.
Yes.
Okay. You want to scroll up a little bit? Okay. Old business, the airport celebration event.
So, if you like, I can speak on this.
Please.
So following our meeting last time on June 23rd, at the direction of the city manager, I met with him and Celeste Lester. We discussed what we had discussed in our last meeting as far as the celebration. The city expressed a desire from the city manager, and the commission's expressed a desire to keep this event small in light of the fact that we have very little money remaining in our budget this year. So for financial reasons and also to promote a positive impact to the community, they felt that it was in our best interest to do something that we could do and build on it, make it something bigger next year. For example, something like an air show. So they recommended to keep it small, like something short and sweet, something that would be, an afternoon, maybe 4 hours around that time period, static display, that type of thing. So we, after talking with Celeste a little bit and reaching out to some other folks who have done air shows in the past or any type of events like that, we started looking at a plan to do a small event the afternoon of November 12th. That date was picked because we looked at 1st November. I think it was the 5th, but there was another event going on that weekend. So we wanted to keep it, something that we didn't want to impact our tenants. And that's the other date would have impacted our tenants more. I spoke casually, unofficially to our FBOs on either side of us and kind of mentioned what we'd like to do, time frame, the date, and they expressed interest in helping and saying, our mutual goal is to not impact them in a negative way, but this is something positive for the community. So I have a drawing to share with you. And again, this is very preliminary. Just wanted to kind of run this idea by you all and kind of envision a family type event open to the public, initially to get in free, no cost to get into the event, to look at some aircraft, have some little events maybe for the kids, maybe a couple jumping houses, bounce houses, food trucks. This would be the day after Veterans Day. So very preliminary, my thoughts were if there's a way that we could somehow raise money for a veterans group, tie that in with, where it's free to get in, but maybe there's some things that we offer to the public to purchase. For example, T-shirts, or maybe I'm sure there's ideas out there I haven't thought of. But in a very generic way, I want to paint a picture of a fun afternoon for the family. It's a positive environment, but it's not too big. We haven't done an air show here in it's been since 2015. I'm new. Rhonda's not here. Rhonda can't even really officially help us in any way because she's still under her she's in her cone of silence where she can't do anything with the city. So our resources are not as great. And money is the biggest one that we don't have a lot of. I was given a budget of no more than $10,000, so this has to be pretty small. What we can do is we can offer fuel to those. If somebody wanted to fly in, we can cover the cost of the fuel. We can offer the fuel since that's a resource we have readily available, jet fuel and avgas.
Does that come out of the 10,000?
No, I mean, that's something that would be, within our cost.
Oh, okay.
That's my understanding. I could get clarification on that. But that's a good question. So, we probably we're going to need some volunteers. I mean, has to be done in a way that would impact us, at least financially. I have a drawing here that I want to share with you. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. So out the grass field there by US 1, thought was to, create an area where we could park cars. We would need volunteers to help us with that. The entrance would be by the administrative facility. We could have handicap parking in the paved parking lot here. There is a walk-through gate here by Air Gate, if they'd be so kind to allow us to bring folks in and out of that gate right there that's in between their facility. Or we could go through the pedestrian walk-through. I like the gate that's next to their facility only because it's a little wider and it would allow somebody in a wheelchair or whatever to come out. And I think there's a ramp there too that would allow somebody to roll up and down. So if you kind of see how I have the aircraft displayed here, I'm going to go to another picture where it kind of zooms in on just the aircraft parking static display here. Let me see. So if you come and envision, maybe we'll have a couple large aircraft, 10, 12 airplanes, maybe less. being that it's Veterans Day weekend and being that this is an airport that belonged to the military, it'd be cool to have some military aircraft. I've spoken to some folks already that would be interested in participating. Epic discussed possibly doing flights, you know, and again, we could, like introductory flights. So again, we could talk about maybe there's a way to raise money there, or not. You know, this is, I'm just bringing these ideas to you, and I kind of want to see what your thoughts are on it.
Well, let me tell you, I've made a lot of contacts with a lot of people, especially military. The biggest problem we have is because it is Veterans Day, the day before. And I talked to them and I said, hey, if I can get you just to come, I'll give you free fuel, because we had already discussed that. And they said, well, do you have any money? I said, we have no money, period. So what I've gotten so far is, let me read you a text I got, and I'm just waiting to hear back. Turn my phone off, sorry guys. Okay. And it's a positive. I don't know if it can happen, but you know, it would be fantastic if it did. And I do have one other person I have not talked to yet that's a positive also. They are in Edgewater Airport.
The Cobra? The Cobra down at Edgewater?
No, it's some friends of mine that have a lot of connections
Oh, okay.
with the military and astronauts and all
Is-
that stuff. And I had my husband talk to him, and when he did, they were excited. And they said, well, you know what? Let me see what we can do. So I don't have any information back from them yet.
Well, I can talk to him.
Huh?
I can talk to him. I'll be glad to talk to him.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I followed up on all of our outside state military contracts that are committed for the weekend. One lease effort is to get the statewide Navy Air Force commands. I'll see what I can do. Sorry about the bad news for the other. So he's going to try and see if he can get the Navy Air Force here. So what I asked for was if we could have some planes come in, you know, from there and put them on a static so that they could look, to have some information about the airplane, because people like to know what kind of airplane it is and what year was it and stuff like that. So that's what I got for him, and I just got that this week, and I said, thanks, you know. So that's the only thing that I've gotten so far, except for the other people, and I'll have to get my husband to tell me. I know them, but because he's good friends with them, so I'll just let him take care of that for me. So I was hoping that what we could do, if it was possible, is if all the airplanes we got, if we could get military, like we could get Gary's plane with the Betty boobs on it, or whatever you call that, bomber. I call her Betty Boobs.
Witchcraft?
Well, okay, something like that, and then some of your warbirds and your,
T6.
yeah, and then also the Jeeps, because you've got military Jeeps too, to have those out there. And then anybody else that we can find, oh, and we might be able to get the Coast Guard to fly in, to get them to come. One of the things that one of the guys told me was, he says, the coolest thing I ever did when we did that big air show was, I thought this was interesting, he said, I really thought it was cool that I got to ride in a helicopter. And I said, oh, okay. I said, did you fly in an R-44? He said, no, I flew in a military helicopter. So that would be kind of cool. They were real impressed by that, you know. I don't know, maybe we can, I don't know. And we haven't talked to Jacksonville. We, as meaning any of us who haven't talked to Jacksonville. We haven't talked to Pensacola either. I do know that there is an air show going on. It's not that,
The one over in DeLand is going on near that time, isn't it?
Sanford, I think it is.
Sanford.
Sanford, there's one in Sanford, I know that. I don't know where it is.
There should be one in Stewart about that time.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. But anyway, that's all that I have that I can tell you. Of course, I can get the food trucks for free. I just have to make a phone call because y'all have to decide whether or not you're gonna do it or not. Because I'm not gonna call anybody unless y'all say, okay, let's do it.
Well, about how many people do you think, or you're planning to have at this, since you say it's a small affair?
Yes. Well, we have room to park about 200 cars, give or take. So, if it's spread out over 4 hours, and we thought about should we have some kind of a reservation system, but, I don't really want to do that. So it's a little hard to say. How do we
Really,
communicate? Go ahead.
I think it really depends on how much advertising we do. How we get it out to the public. That's what I think it's gonna be. I don't know whether, actually, that would be kind of cool. We could get one of the guys from Edgewater to fly a banner across, like, over the ocean saying, hey, air show or,
You've just used up your $10,000.
well, no, I want it free.
You're not going to get it free.
Well, let me ask you this. As far as this date, is this something that we can go forward with? It says staff recommended it. How do we
Yes.
start by firming up the date?
Well, I think we would make a motion to say that we want to do it on this date. I know we haven't.
That's where I kind of
all
like
the
to start
facts.
with, is
Yeah.
firm up the date. And
We
then
have to
could-
obviously
and-
take it to the events
and
committee.
we could have a workshop and do some more planning, okay, or put a committee together, okay? But I think Veterans Day weekend is awesome, considering who our airport is named for. And we have a lot of resources available to us. I'm in the VFW and the American Legion both. There's not the 4250 post. I'm 3282 up in Port Orange, but that also houses Vietnam Veterans of America chapter, the Marine Corps League. There's a lot of groups that are part of that post as well. So if we want to have some military theme to that, I can certainly help make that happen
Right up your alley.
with we could have an honor guard for a ceremony kind of in there. So there's a lot of different directions we can go with this, okay? Even for a 4-hour event on a single day. So I think we need to start, though, by having a motion to approve the November 12th date. And should that motion include and set up a committee to support that, or?
Sure.
Could,
Just
but,
say again.
you know what we have to do, right? We have to prove that. We have to go to Leisure Services.
Yes,
And then we have to get it on the commission.
right.
So I think if we made not a committee necessarily to do that part, because we already know how to do all that, if we had a committee like what you're saying, get all those, your people that you know and get everything else, I think that'd be fantastic.
That was pretty much what I was talking about.
We have to have a basic plan, though, in writing that we present so
Correct.
that fire can approve it, police, because all those departments are going to be there.
That's right.
So do we need to have a committee meeting to put that together, or is that something that you can do based on the discussion that we've had?
I'm happy. Say again?
You could do it.
Okay.
I was there.
I'm happy to continue to put it together, but I would like, as much help as offered. But as far as putting the pieces together, I've already been in touch with Leisure Services. I've already got the application for that. We're looking at the dates that we need to go before the, I'd like to get that approved sooner rather than later.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that we're not waiting till the last minute to get that approved. We can do a whole lot of work and then they say, no, we can't do it. So,
Because I had already had discussions with, as an alumni, with Embry Riddle, and they were they were very interested in coming down and putting a shade cover up and passing out information about their entire school, not just the flight program, but engineering, mechanics, the whole deal, so.
What we need to put together is my understanding is, you know, where it's going to be, where's the parking going to be, restrooms, those types of logistics. The details on the fun stuff that we're going to have inside, I think it would be nice to have a little committee, I think, discussion on that.
Okay.
On this drawing you have, I'm assuming that the little oval is where the food trucks are?
Yes, in the middle are food trucks. I put little picnic tables here.
Okay.
These were meant to be like little displays talking about each airplane, or maybe there's a tent or, you know, whatever, something there that people can have a discussion about that plane. Let's say if it's your plane, you know, you be there and be available to talk to the public about that plane. Down here, this section here, could be a few bathrooms with maybe this is the bounce house, and because this is grass. Maybe a couple bounce houses down here, something fun for the kids. Or, you know, there's a little booth over here that's a little craft thing for, you know, I kind of envision in my mind anyway, is that this is a family thing. So
is there thinking in here of where you would have the umbrellas that would be for Epic and Embry-Riddle and
Yes,
people
so-
like that would want to come and,
So this would be, my thoughts was Epic. You know, they have a couple planes staged here. They'd have their little area here that they could greet and talk to people about their school, or, you know, whatever they want about their aircraft. That'd be kind of like the entrance. But this is all just kind of space savers, if you will, you know. These are not the exact airplanes. And when I said military too, you know, we have a lot of cool airplanes, like you were saying, right here on the airfield that are, you know, that we can fill a fair amount of space with. So this is totally open to filling this, but this is the basic space we have to work with, which is basically the area in front of our administrative building, and then a little on either side, cutting into Epic and Airgate's space we don't want to negatively impact them, and we want to make sure that we leave space for them to come and go. I know, Jim, I spoke to you a little bit about making sure that you know that we wouldn't be able to taxi aircraft through. We'd have to, from the north, they'd have to come in Charlie on the north, and from the south, they'd have to come in the south. But this would be envisioning, you know, set up Friday, Thursday, Friday. So it would be, you know, 3-4 days of impact, but really the event itself would just be, you know, the one day. But hopefully by Sunday, it's like it didn't happen and we can be back to normal.
Are the little square boxes with the X's on them, or is that toiletry?
Yes, kind of
Okay,
at the
good.
top. I was thinking we'd have, you know, some toilets up here, and then probably also at the bottom,
Yeah.
maybe a few there.
Yeah, I think you
depending on-
need that.
Yeah.
What about garbage cans?
Garbage, I didn't draw them, but yes, I mean, we need them throughout, and we need volunteers. And Leisure Services already said that they would help with some staff, 3-4 people that they would, and we're gonna need other volunteers besides that, but you know, we're already starting to get some. And I think, you know, your idea of the young Marines or the Marines, you know, get the kids involved, you know,
yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah, very cool.
okay.
So are you going to have free parking, free entrance? Or?
Yes.
Yes, that was the plan.
That was really the way I envision it is, of course, obviously the food would not be free. You know, if anybody wants to purchase an ice cream or soda, that's on them, and we hope they do. But I really wanted something that somebody could just come and look at a plane if they want to, and for it to be a very positive, not big, you know, not huge, we can't have 10,000 people. So I want to be careful in how we market it too.
Well, our original thinking was that the mayor would do the proclamation there, but he wound up doing it already, and that's kind of a done deal. But if you wanted to have an honor guard from the VFW or something like that, I could arrange for that. That's a busy weekend for them, okay? But if that's the date, I'm going up there tonight, Taco Tuesday, okay? So, you know, so if this is kind of pretty firm, I can go talk to those guys to see if they would be interested in coming down, and maybe we have Robert Osbolt come, okay? Bolt come, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Osbolt.
If he's not too busy.
Yeah, so he could fly up from Tampa possibly, and he could be there for that. We could have an honor guard, and Did we mail him his,
No,
So,
so,
we could give it to him if we haven't mailed it to him.
he was, just, what was this? I think it was Friday, Thursday or Friday. We got a call that there was, somebody was having problems with the fuel pump. So we went out there and it was him.
Well, yeah.
And we fixed this problem for him and in the meantime, said, well, you know what, while you're here, so we were able to talk with him and his wife, able to give him the proclamation. He just sent us a thank you letter today.
Okay.
So it was nice. It was impromptu, but at least we had the opportunity to meet him and
Well,
talk with
good.
him. And
Well, good. You've got that connection right there now, so good.
but we could still invite him and
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
think it would be appropriate to do that. So we need, I guess, a motion to recommend that you press forward with the November 12th date with the airport management staff taking the lead on the required approvals from the city and to put a committee together that would meet soon to begin the planning of the actual day and events. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That sounds good. Or do we need to be more specific?
Or am I lumping too much stuff into one?
Nope,
No.
you're good.
That's okay?
Yep, yep.
Okay,
We'll record it in the minutes as you say it.
okay, all right. So with that motion on the table,
I'll second it.
No, the motion's not made.
Oh.
He can't make a motion.
Oh, you can? Okay. All right.
But you can.
you can make, you can make. a-
Okay, I make a motion to accept the date and to go after the permits and to organize people to help work. Do I get a second?
I second the motion.
All right,
Chair
Yeah.
Dempsey,
yes.
Vice Chair Starley,
Yes.
Member Mitchell,
Yes.
Member Lester,
Yes.
Member Smizer,
Yes.
Member Norval.
Yes.
So how many weeks do we have between now and then?
About, let's see.
I'm sorry, I don't have my calendar.
I'll tell you.
15,
One,
16?
Yeah, something like that.
November the 12th,
Wow.
16 weeks. Okay,
5 months,
that's, we got time to do that.
yeah.
Okay, we have time to do that. So, how do you want to do the committee for this? Meet at the airport office or does it have to be a public advertised meeting for us to have a meeting to
If there's
plan?
going to be more than one of you on the committee, I do have to advertise it for the public
Okay,
because of the sunshine laws.
all right. Well, I think because of the various skills that we have and the various contacts that we have, we kind of need more than one of us on the committee.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm glad to be a part of it.
All
And,
right, I will talk with the city attorneys and move forward with getting that coordinated.
okay,
Could we, is it okay to ask who would be interested in serving on that committee?
I'll be interested. If nobody else is interested,
Yeah,
then,
I'll be happy to help also.
okay, Jim's gonna help?
Stand in the background.
Okay, so is it Gemini for right now?
I'll help. Y'all are
Okay.
killing me.
Okay, Celeste.
You're killing me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if we've already decided that we're definitely going to do this on that date, and you're going after all the stuff, then I'm going to call my lady that has the food trucks to get them on her calendar, because she has to put out, she has 100 food trucks, so what they have to do is they have to put out a notice for those trucks, and whoever wants to come, they have to notify her and pay her. They don't pay us. So I need to call her
Yep.
and talk to her and say, hey, this is when we're having it, can you help us?
Well, I think it's safe for Celeste to press on with
Yes,
that.
yes.
And I'll go ahead and press on with the VFW and the other, those other similar organizations to just get it on their calendar.
Yes.
Okay, save the date.
And I think we should try to meet as soon as possible. Wait to hear from Tammy. but we'll try to organize a meeting very soon
Okay.
because I'd like to get on the events committee as soon as possible because then we have to go to commission. There's no commission meetings until August 9th. There's just a lot of moving parts, so I kind of want to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, because the day before, they're all going to be supporting the Brannon Center with the activity that we have there every Veterans Day. Okay, so with the wreaths and
Right.
everything that goes along with that.
Anybody got contact with the Spruce Creek Jazz Band? Anybody have any little whippersnappers or anything? That'd be great to have them. They'll do that for free too, I'm pretty sure. Yes.
I have never heard of that, Spruce Creek. I'm very familiar with their Confederate Air Force or whatever they did
Well,
up there.
it's at the school, it's Spruce Creek High School. It's the Spruce Creek High School Jazz Band, and they're really fantastic. That would be kind of just a little more
Okay.
upbeat.
Well, we just did the July 4th parade in Daytona for the Veterans Day, and there were no high school bands in that one because it's in the summertime. But
Yeah.
this is November 12th, so the school's back in, so we should be able to get
Yeah, I
a
think that would be a
school
great
band.
asset. And then, of course, the guys in Spruce Creek,
Yeah.
get them to fly. I don't know what the name of that group is, do you? I have pictures of them.
Gaggle flight.
What is it?
Gaggle.
Gaggle flight.
Gaggle flight.
The gaggle.
Trying to get the gaggles.
Google the gaggle.
Google
Yeah,
the
okay.
gaggle.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we've got what we
We've
need,
got our
I think,
marching
to kick
orders.
that off, and we'll wait to hear back from you on when the committee can meet, okay?
Yeah, I'll give you guys an update by Friday because I'm off next week.
Okay.
So I'll email you guys, but I'll call you as well to confirm your email address in the morning.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Can we use your plane?
Ready to move forward?
Do you have anything else we can use?
I don't know.
Okay.
Things are in,
I got you.
long story.
Yeah,
Is there any more old business? Do you guys get what you need out of that discussion to go do what you need
Yes,
to
sir.
do? Okay, awesome. New
After you
business?
get it approved, after it goes through the whole schmoll, let's put something in the paper.
Okay.
Okay.
And maybe, I actually have a whole bunch of stuff that came from the library. So maybe we can persuade them to do an article, and use some of that stuff that was, because there's military airplanes in there, and it talks about Jack Bolt and all that. Because I've already done all the research on that, and I've got a connection there, so maybe I can call her and say, or talk to the editor and say, hey, could you do a small piece or something in the hometown news, which would be nice.
I know I can talk to the Marine Corps League tonight, in fact, on that, as far as getting the young Marines to help out with volunteering, either parking or whatever, okay? But I think we ought to look at other similar groups and see what we can, but the committee can put some effort into.
High
making
school, you probably could get New Smyrna Beach High School,
that.
because they'll be back in school,
Yeah, okay.
and it is their city.
Okay. All right, good. We got a mission, all right, and a date, and a boxed a little bit there, so that's very good. Any more old business to add to this? Any more old business?
I don't see any old business in airplane on my later.
New business, any new business?
No, you were right.
It's just listed. All we have left is just comments, and I wanted to give you guys an update. I have a presentation here to just update you since we last met on the airport and the different projects that are going on.
Okay, that's next. Item 7, airport manager comments.
So you'll remember that we were finished wrapping up T Hangar H construction, and we were working on some punch list items. The main thing that held us up right there at the end was the manufacturer of the building. There was some disagreement on the door seals, and we were able to work that out. They installed the first door seals on Hangar 101 last week. We like the product. It looks good. It's providing a nice tight seal. The plan is for them to finish that up, and then we should be wrapped up with that project. I think I don't believe there's anything outstanding yet that needs to be done. We whittled everything down to that one item, and we're happy to say that we're on the home stretch, the very last stretch. So that's kind of wanted to deliver that good news.
Okay, what did that do to the backlog for hangar space? Opening that up, is that?
Didn't hold anything up, held up one person who didn't want to move in. That was their I guess, argument against moving in was that they didn't like the fact there was a gap at the bottom of the door, which understandable. I've had other complaints about it, but it didn't stop people from moving in.
I was looking for, I know that we had a significant backlog of people that were looking for hangar space that were on a waiting list.
Yes.
So if the hangar's now open and are all the spaces taken?
Yes.
So what does the backlog look like?
We're
Because
at
I get
about-
that question occasionally. People
Yes.
want to know what the backlog is.
Last we checked, we were at 120.
120 backlog.
120
Am I still number 3?
on the executive hangars, yes.
However, with that said, not all of those have aircraft, and there's a new policy as far as moving in or at least getting a hangar. There's no more waiting for 6 months if you're looking. So we have to go through and kind of thin out the herd or see who's even still interested. So it could be less than that, but that's
Okay.
currently where it's at.
Well, something that I'll discuss a little bit later in the presentation too is it kind of ties in with this waiting list, is some of the use of the hangar. We've got a few users who we are addressing that are not using the hangar for aeronautical purposes. Not at all. Not one thing in the hangar is aeronautical. So we have been in the process of sending out letters to those
I thought Adam
individuals.
sent those letters out after we did that last full inspection to those where it was just being used as a storage locker.
Right. It could be that this is an ongoing, this is probably going to be an ongoing battle. There's going to be a few out of the whole herd. I don't know if they're the same individuals or not. I don't know.
Well, can you guys take the action to find out what our options are to deal with that? Because I understood that from Adam, the last time we did all of those inspections, and we found some that had old boats in them and old office dividers and furniture, and we found all kinds of stuff when we were doing those. And no airplane in there.
Correct. No, it's very clear. The FAA supports, and that's what I was going to get into, it's very clear on the requirement for aeronautical use.
Well, that was but I guess I'm looking at what are our options for giving that particular owner a date that he has to
Yes.
either comply or vacate.
Those are actually, letters have already been sent out, and they are pending. They have 30 days to respond. So by the time we meet again, there'll be action. There was one hangar that I was, there was one that's going to be a little longer than that. There was extenuating circumstances, so we did give them 90 days to rectify this situation, but there's some extenuating circumstances there.
So all but one have 30 days.
Yes.
When's the 30 days?
Oh, the end of the 30 days? Yeah, let's see, we sent those letters out about 2 weeks ago, so it'll be, I would say, within the next 2 weeks.
How many are you talking about? How many individuals?
It's about 5.
Okay.
Any of those executive hangars? I knew it.
Okay.
Anything else on T Hangar H? Any questions on that hangar project we were wrapping up?
That's a good update. Appreciate that.
Taxiway Charlie, as you know, we were wrapping that up in our last session. Unfortunately, right at the end, we had some issues with there was a truck that was doing some cleaning of runway markings, and they spilled hydraulic fluid all over the taxiway. You can see here in this picture. Unfortunately, it damaged it to the point where we had to resurface or repave, mill and repave about 50 feet on each side of runway 1129. You can see here, this was on the 12th. It's already done, it's already back in service, but they had to come and redo this section because the hydraulic fluid had ruined the pavement. And of course, that's at the contractor's expense. But it was still an aggravation. We had the runway shut down for about 2 days, but it is back in service now.
Okay.
And with that, there isn't, we are in the process of issuing getting the final payout to them, correct?
That's coming. We haven't received it yet.
Oh, we haven't seen it, okay.
Consultants
Just another
reviewing it.
picture there. As you saw, we talked about earlier, the airport diagram has been updated. There are still some issues with it. A lot of those were addressed with this latest publication that came out July 14th. But we were in communication with the FAA about the items they still need to address. For example, here on the main ramp, there is still a section showing here where there's actually asphalt there, but it's showing that it's grass. That it's not a paved surface. If we go to the next slide, you'll see down by American Arrow, this taxiway no longer exists. It's down here. There's a piece missing right in front of T-Hangar H. You can see where my cursor is. So there's a few minor things that still need to be changed, but it's nice to see the new overall, a lot of the changes that we had asked for, they did make. So a step in the right direction.
I thought that somebody had mentioned in one of our prior meetings that the aeronautical charts were showing 725 as less than 5,000 feet, but this is showing it at 5,000.
Yeah, the displaced threshold, it'll still show, I guess, as landing distance available, I believe, is 5,000, but not takeoff. Am I right on that?
So there maybe has been some confusion. There's 5,000 feet of asphalt there.
Could he come up to the microphone?
Thank you. I was trying to hear.
So for a while, the declared distances
Have been, it's, I think, 4,700 feet for 2.5 and 46 and change for 7.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's what we've got on the approach plates. This just shows the asphalt we've got.
Okay,
So we've got 5,000 feet of asphalt, we just can't use it.
okay. All right. Thanks for the clarification.
Oh, also on your picture, in front where B and C were torn down, you have pavement.
Right,
in
and
the-
it's grass,
In
yeah.
the picture. And it's grass.
Yes, that was also already sent. I've already sent the revision to the FAA, and including that and several other things we already mentioned. I'm just waiting to get a draft back from them.
So the next publication comes out in, they said, what, October?
Well, yeah, so for the next time that they will change this, the deadline's September, then we should get a new publication by October. It's kind of a slow process.
I was hoping it was paved, because that is what the 10-year plan did recommend, was to have where B and C stood, to have all that paved for the larger aircraft parking.
Okay.
So another update is the property acquisition. So the closing has been completed and we have become the owners of 333 South Street. So that was a win that I think had been in the works for a very long time with Rhonda and the Bakers for many years. So really congrats goes to those folks who did so much work over those years in talking and keeping the lines of communication open. The lease, the new lease with the city, with Baker Aviation will begin on August 1st.
Just for an update, the building identified as Franklin International, that's not Franklin International anymore, is it? Doesn't that have all new signage down there and it's got a new name on it?
I think so, yeah, this is Google Earth, probably isn't correct, but,
Okay, okay. So this isn't yours? This is
no,
right off of
yeah, I
Google Earth?
just
Okay.
grabbed this shot because I thought it was nice to see the whole airport in perspective like this.
Yeah, it is. I've been in my house 6.5 years, and we changed it dramatically, and Google Earth still shows it from the original owner.
Right, yeah.
So, all right. Okay, well, this is great.
The fuel farm, just,
I'm sorry, the
Oh.
paving that Ms. Meiser was just talking about?
Yes.
That's the grass now? I was just trying to read, I was trying to find it on here to see what the actual progress on that.
sure, we can discuss that. It's not on this list, and I don't have any slides or anything to show it. There was a grant I think the grant that was originally for T-hangers B and C to be torn down.
Right.
Included
Paving.
paving. The design portion of that has not been done yet. So the design to design the ramp was coming due. The discussion was, would that impact, and this is me, I think this is what Joe was referring to earlier from Airgate. So I'm trying to summarize that the best I can. Basically, prior to me being here, Rhonda had, I guess, talked to Airgate about putting in a ramp over there because Airgate wanted to build an FBO over there. Am I right? So, and there was a lot of discussions about that. After the fact, when we went to look, and we actually sat down with the consultant, and he said, okay, if you build this ramp, here's what you're going to get for your money. So you're going to spend $1.5 million, and here's what you're going to get. The problem is that ramp, a lot of that ramp is going to be unusable because of the taxiway clearance that's needed because of the taxiway Charlie there. So if we invest that money there, it's going to be a challenge to see a return on that investment. So another proposal was given. Nothing has been designed as of yet. Another proposal was put forth of another ramp expansion, which is also on our airport layout plan, which is to expand the main ramp further west. One of the challenges we have now, again, because of the taxiway that runs right through the middle of the ramp is, for Airgate and for the airport and the other users, is that if someone's parking at the FBOs, whether it's Airgate or Epic or there's not a lot of clearance between the buildings and the taxiway because of how much clearance you need. There's a lot of wasted space there. And there's been days when I know we have larger aircraft and it's not even safe. I mean, these aircraft really are bottlenecked. We had some aircraft damaged a month or two ago because, quite frankly, there's not enough space for them to be operating in and out of there. So the idea was put forth, okay, well, what if we expand the ramp west, past where the lights are, and then move the taxiway, or the taxi lane, as it were, over west too, thereby giving a lot more ramp space for parking at Airgate and Epic. So, and it would increase the tie-down space as well. So I think there's a lot of history there that I'm still learning about what's best for the airport. And nothing has been, Joe and I had an unofficial meeting scheduled for Wednesday to talk about this a little further. The grant is currently on the commission for August 9th, am I right? For the grant amendment.
We don't have that back
Oh, we don't have it back yet, sorry.
yet. Not yet.
Okay, so it may not even be.
It'd be later in August.
Okay. So both items are on our airport layout plan. In other words, either item is already approved for a project and in JSON. But it's a matter of, do we want to design something? What's going to make the most sense for the users and the airport as a whole? And that's really the question right now. And are we going to design something that we can use? Or are we going to design something that, we want to make sure if we design it, we can use it. We hate to design something and it stay on a shelf. There's not much sense in that. We could design both, but we want to make sure that we My goal in this is just to make sure we use our money wisely. I know there's been some things in the past or promises or whatever that have been made, and we certainly want to be sensitive to that too. So at such a time as when we got to the point where we could present that information to you, we would have, but I didn't feel that we were ready to, I wasn't ready anyway to present all the facts because I don't feel like I have them all yet myself. So
What is the percentage of the grant money that we could get for this?
that's 80-20, which I don't think there's an FAA match for this, so it's 80-20. If it's built for a private entity, it's 50-50. So that's what we also have to be mindful.
Well, I just see on the news all the time the fact that, where this infrastructure money is going, and Orlando is getting it, and Melbourne's getting it, and Sanford's getting it, and I just wanted to make sure that while that opportunity is there, we're doing everything we can to take advantage of that infrastructure money that's out there right now, specifically for airports. And we're on the list. We're on that list. Our airport is on that list as an eligible airport.
And we're getting the bill money too, $295,000 a year. We have projects laid out for that as well.
Okay.
So,
Would
Yes.
it be possible to get at some point just a presentation that shows what we're looking at relative to that kind of grant money?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
what our
Yeah.
opportunities could be with that,
Mhm.
okay? So that we could have that, a good understanding on the board on that, okay? So if
Absolutely.
you guys could take an action to
Yeah.
bring that in the next meeting
Yes.
or when we can.
Are we able to send them the list? I think we can send you the list. We can email you the list of everything that's in the next 5 years. And
Okay.
again, it's not all locked in stone. It's on our wish list, if you will.
Yeah.
So there's some things that may get pushed because of budget constraints.
Well, what I was thinking about is.
'Cause there's like a
with-
certain
with the
pool of
fact
money.
that With the fact that this infrastructure money is out there and we're on the list for it, or is there any prioritizing that we can help you do on what really should be first, second through the top of that list, so that, have some of the folks that have their airplanes here, that operate out of here, that have business there, that can say, here's our feedback on what could be your priorities.
Yes.
Okay.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's do that. And you guys can help too. All right, so we'll look for that. You'll send us a list, and then we'll have put it on the agenda for us to talk about it at the next meeting, and we'll talk about that.
Sounds good.
Okay.
One question. Just in case we fail to get military involved, and we have to use our own planes here, are you going to try to get the list that we did before?
Yes, I have your list. I think that's definitely a discussion we should have as the committee, so that
Yeah.
Okay,
because we do have limited space, so we want to,
okay. Just asking.
I have the list. Thank you.
I'm going through my folder.
Okay.
I have a Honda Jet on that drawing, by the
Oh,
way.
do you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I put that on there for you.
Thank you.
So I know that's probably a discussion that we need to go further on, another time. As far as the ramp.
Okay.
So moving on, just quickly, because I know we're running short on time. Fuel farm. Right now, where we're at with that process, the next step in the process is getting a survey and geotech done. That's the update there. Not a whole lot, but we're still in the design phase. We should have the design completed this fiscal year, and so that'll be prior to October, and then starting construction hopefully sometime after, I would say after the first of the year. Airfield signage, that is probably the next thing that is going to be starting to happen here at the airport. You'll notice, if you've been on the airfield recently, this is the worst sign, so I use it as an example. There are some signs that are well past their life, and there's some other ones that just need the face replacements. But we have a very robust signage project that's about to, it's already been designed, it's already been bid. When we selected a bidder, Pruitt won the bid. And I have a list of, I didn't put it in the presentation itself, but the list is pretty extensive. We're replacing about, let's see, it was about 40 signs, I think it is, roughly. Does that sound about right?
50, this is
50? 50. So 50 signs, and we had originally intended to, we were hoping to do just a few more, but we decided not to. A lot of those signs were just kind of wish. They were still in pretty good condition, but everything's coming back higher, at a higher cost, as you know. So the bid came back a little bit higher than what we anticipated.
So the bid went out?
Yes.
Okay.
Bid went out, successfully was won by Pruitt, who's done other work for us here.
So the costs that are coming back higher, are they over the roof higher, or are they just a little higher?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it hasn't been, sorry, the bid was selected, but it hasn't been approved by the commission.
Oh,
So correction. Thank
okay.
you.
So how are you getting the cost info that you said was coming back higher?
Oh, no, well, we got 3 bids back, yes.
Okay, okay.
So the 3 bids that you got, how much higher are they?
Than what we originally anticipated.
Yes.
With the, well, see, there was, let's see. I think it only came back, so there was a base bid, and then there was an alternate bid, because we were hoping for, if we had enough money, we were hoping to do some extras. Because of the fact that it came back higher, we were only able to do the base bid, but the base bid came in about $2,000 over our budget. So we will have to ask for a little bit more money, but that's doable.
Okay. 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 Any other questions on that? What time do we end exactly? Is it supposed to be?
It's a very good question.
Actually, there is no end time unless they need this room.
Yeah, typically the room is booked for an hour,
Yeah.
but like Mrs. Meiser said,
Okay, well, I'll keep my eye on the door, because right now,
Well, I'll try to.
we're closing in on our hour, so let's,
I'll try to close in on it. So the noise continues to be obviously a challenge, but we're doing exactly what we laid out in the last meeting. We have seen some success. We've seen a huge reduction in the amount of calls we get. Not to say that doesn't mean that there isn't noise, but we continue to educate and talk with our flight schools. Epic has done a very good job of responding to those and making corrections, and we've seen a great reduction in their activities that they've been doing outside of the noise abatement hours.
well, the activity on our Inlet Shores Facebook group has dropped pretty dramatically.
And a lot of that, I know we're using 725 pretty heavily, so, but as I was explaining to a resident today who is impacted by 725 is, that runway is it's like 88% wind coverage. So, I mean, it's the one that's going to get used the most just for the sake of wind. And it's used about 77% of the time. So that matches, what we're seeing with the wind. When you look at the historical data for wind in this area, that's the runway that's going to get hit the most. So it's difficult to eliminate that entirely for those folks who lived at one end or the other of that runway.
So you're saying because of prevailing winds that 0725 operations have the most impact
Yes.
from the noise perspective?
It seems to.
Well, it's interesting that the people that howl the most, okay, are the 29 folks that are coming up on the west side of Inlet Shores. Okay, on our Facebook page anyway.
Right.
Okay, they're the ones that are the most vocal. Okay.
Wildlife, I know this was a hot topic that we discussed last time. We are in the information gathering stage. Here's a picture on June 19th of a coyote off of, let's see, this was, where did you have this trail cam?
It's at the intersection of 220 and 1129.
So we have noticed some coyote activity in that area, and we are gathering that information. We've also implemented a new checklist for our guys to inspect the runway, and it includes checking for wildlife, and so we're noting that and recording that. We have started a file for when we see this type of activity. And I also wanted to actually coincide this with a staffing, because it kind of, you can see here the birds following the mower. Kind of a staffing update, and this is for you, Ms. Meiser, because I know you mentioned this before. We currently have 2 openings. We have Dennis Roblinski, who has been with the city now for 8 years, is retiring. He's actually going to go, before he fully retires, he's going to go part-time until we fill his position. And then we have another full-time position that's open. And the new requirement for employees coming on is that they participate in a weekend rotation. So we're going to have some Saturdays where somebody's here. Well, every Saturday somebody's going to be here checking the runway, taking care of the trash. So there's going to be a little bit more coverage and manpower, and that'll also help us with the wildlife. Is to continue, so we're tracking that. So we're still kind of in the implementation and information gathering phase of wildlife, but that kind of tied in with the staffing, which is why I kind of put both of those items there. Mm-hmm. Approaches is a big one right now. We had a meeting with the FAA on, I think it was about 10 days ago, with our local regional office. And that was after I got a letter from them. And it basically says, giving us a final determination on, as you probably may be aware, our approaches our night approaches, for runways 725 have been out for a considerable amount of time. And
that was the gate that was put in. Is that because of that gate that was put in when the construction was going on?
No. This came about because they noticed that there was penetrations to runway 25 on the 40-1 for the departure surface. The fence, basically, I'll show you the fence. The fence at either end of the runway, so the approach end of 7 and the approach end of 25, penetrates the 20-1 obstruction.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
How far would the fence have to be moved, and could it be moved?
Well, that's the challenge, is that to move the fence, you need to move the road.
Okay.
To move the road is difficult, virtually impossible. US 1, astronomical cost and an effort to do that. And Sunset, so these are things that just came. I got the letter June 28th. We had the meeting, was it last week, the week before, and they said that flight standards reviewed it, airports reviewed it, flight procedures, and all of them are coming back with, and they're not wavering. They said that there's no mitigation. You cannot light it. You can either just remove the fence, which is not going to be possible. Their stance is that it is not for navigation. And any objects not needed for air navigational purposes must remain outside the runway obstacle-free zone. So we're actually at if we don't at least put on paper that we're going to do something about this, just saying it without saying it, that we could even lose VFR approaches. This is a very serious thing. So they said that, and in order to address this, we need to remove asphalt. That literally is what they want us to do, is remove like 40 feet of asphalt on one side and about 100 feet on the other. So it comes out to about 150 feet of asphalt.
So
Totally.
their idea of making it safer is to make the runway shorter.
Yes.
God almighty.
But this was the direction we were gonna go, because the history going way back was all of this stuff that was part of trying to, the proposal to change US 1 and Sunset Boulevard and pave the Turnbull Bay, all of that, those ridiculous recommendations that were actually formalized and studied. We were trying to get it down to this point, and then we were gonna go and see if we could get a waiver. And if we couldn't get the waiver, then we would have to do something to make it a legitimate approach, right?
And they're saying there is no, there's no, we went for probably 3 months, I chased my tail going to flight standards, airports, just, I kept getting the runaround. I finally got everybody together and I said, we gotta, this is affecting the airport users financially. We've got to figure this out. What we're willing to do, whatever it takes, let me know, what is it we will light the fence, you have to move the fence or actually remove asphalt.
Have they given you anything in writing on it?
Yes, I've got letters back from them. They're basically final determinations that I can share with you that say basically that. But they.
And who signed them?
It is the ADO for the FAA, so that would be the district office, our district office.
Okay.
So are you saying you're going to make it shorter or longer?
Not saying that we're
I
doing
mean, if we
anything,
move the
but,
fence,
yeah, the
Can we
fence,
move
you'd
it-
have to move the fence about, like I said, 40 feet, or you'd have to remove it. If you remove the fence altogether, which you have to have some type of airport fence, something to keep people from going onto the airport.
Is there a standard height that fence has to be?
It's a good question.
Shorten the fence, it wouldn't protrude into the zone, would it?
How much would you have to shorten the fence?
is that a 5-foot fence? Probably.
It's different on both sides, so hold on a second.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so for clarification, we're talking about the fence that parallels US 1?
Yes, actually, we're talking about for runway 25, it's US 1. For
And-
runway 7, it's Sunset.
Sunset,
Mhm.
okay.
So the fence is the issue at both sides. It's 7 feet, which is pretty much the height of the fence. Let's see here, runway 25.
And there's no way to get 40 feet by putting a dog leg in the fence that parallels US 1. Is it that close already? I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
It seems, if I recall, it's right there when you come up to South Street and US 1, it comes
It's
right
right
up,
on the sidewalk.
right up to the edge of the sidewalk, so.
The existing fence on 7 penetrates the runway obstacle-free zone by 9 feet. So it's a matter of the only, even if we remove the fence,
Well, that's not even a consideration, right? I mean, we can't remove the fence. I don't know how we could do that.
And have you discussed with them displacing the threshold and then lighting the displaced
Yeah.
threshold?
they said that since it's already been displaced, you can't displace it anymore because they still consider the fact that there's pavement there. So even that you displace the threshold, that's not the issue. The pavement itself is a surface that someone could land on.
Yeah, it's the benefit of it.
Right.
What is the deadline for this?
They didn't give a deadline, but they want to see that we are doing something about it. We can't actually do it. They know, and they recognize we can't do anything about it. So, but they want to see that it is on a plan to do something about it. So we have to update our airport layout plan to say, in 3 years or whatever, because they recognize the fact that this is a significant project. I mean, this is going to cost a lot of money. I also asked the question, okay, well, we obviously resurfaced that runway or rehabilitate that runway several years ago. We spent the FAA's money, we spent our money. So, it would have been good to know this then. Wasn't there any, why are we just now finding out about this? Now we're at a point where we got to spend even more money. And I wasn't here, so I don't know. I can't find any records of that conversation. And they said, truthfully, we don't know. It was missed. We don't know. So.
This has a lot of twists and turns in it, and I'd recommend seems to me like a substantial issue. I'd recommend that we set a working group up to take a look at it.
We've got a question from the public.
Yes.
So I did have the benefit of being there. I was actually in the room at the ADO during these conversations.
Could you move the mic up?
Sorry, yeah. So I actually went to the ADO and had these conversations when we were doing the master plan before. So this stuff was all discussed then. So the fact that it's a problem now is kind of surprising because a lot of people in this room spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. With all that said, have we ever seen a waiver request that the city submitted to the FAA for the approaches? Because there's a process and it does not go through the ADO. And we talked about this. We hired a consultant, went through all those, changing the roads, all that stuff. There's an actual waiver process that circumvents the ADO to get approval for changes to approaches. That, I think, would alleviate the issues we've got. And I'm not sure that process was ever finished like it was supposed to be. You have any idea?
I'd have to look back through our files and see.
Well, we're
I'm not
going
really
to
sure.
take that as an action
Yes.
to go and hunt that down and find out what the status of that approach is now, if there was ever a waiver submitted. And let's go do that. And were you making a motion for a working group?
Well, possibly we could discuss it. Does that make sense to anybody to get people specifically tasked to take a look at this?
Well, do we want to, Gary, do you remember the waiver that?
No, I don't.
Does Jeffrey, anybody remember that? Okay.
Well, we definitely have access to a lot of old files, so we can first and foremost go digging and see. And then I like your idea of having a
I agree.
group.
This
Yeah.
is as significant,
Yes.
or more than the noise issue was. Okay. This impacts the viability of the airport.
We've already given up a lot of runway, feels like, and it feels like disheartening to, know that we're just going backwards when we really want to go forward. So.
Okay. Well, let's, you guys take the action to go and research that. If you've got any notes or documents or with dates and anything that can help them research that, obviously we've got a whole new crew running the airport administration and staff, so we need, you guys may not be aware of something that he was a party to, okay? Let's go dig that up and run that down and see if we can find something there, and then, but.
And the other thing to mention procedurally is the district office really isn't the final word on that. So again, if we get something back that doesn't make sense, there are other avenues that we can explore.
Okay.
If we put together a working group on that, would that be something that Jim could do with some of the airport stakeholders, possibly, that where we don't have to have the whole committee involved, and Jim can work with stakeholders from the airport to try and come up with a plan to put our arms around it. This is a big deal. Okay.
That is a good idea, and Jim could be just the one person
Right.
from the
Well, go on.
board, so it wouldn't have to be a public,
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And we dealt with issues like this at the airline all the time, and be happy to dive into it with you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'll coordinate with you on when we can start that.
Do we need to make a motion on it, or just,
I kind of look at Tammy on what we need to make a motion on.
That's
and
a
not.
new one for me. I haven't had this one.
Let's put it in the record. Let's make a motion. Well, you came up with it. Well, Jim made a motion to put together. a
Well,
working
I
group.
move that we establish a working group to look specifically at this.
Okay, and I'll second
And-
that. Okay,
All right. Chair Dempsey,
yes.
Vice Chair Starley,
Yes?
Member Mitchell,
Yes.
Member Lester,
Yes.
Member Smizer,
yes.
Member Norval.
Yes.
Okay.
and Mr. Starling, I can get you all the information that I've been given and the communication that I've been given, so we could talk, find a way to talk sometime, and
Thank you.
Well, I think we've got some stakeholder support right here.
Exactly. I'd be very interested in working with you on it. Yeah.
Okay. Have you got a card you can give him or something? Okay. All right, all right. What's next?
all right. Just want to update you guys on June 24th, we had a lightning strike at the airfield. We had several systems that went out as a result of that lightning strike. We had a generator wiring harness. The automated weather observation system was out. The ATIS was out. Some other systems in the tower, including voice recorder. Most of everything is back online, except for the AWAS. We're still have some issues there. Our insurance company spearheaded the efforts of recovery, and but it was still we were still longer without certain things than we would have liked. But we're finding in this day and age of finding parts and things that and getting vendors to show up, that it's becoming more and more difficult sometimes when these things happen. So just kind of a play-by-play. When we lost power, our generator kicked on. The tower and the airfield were running on generator power. When the commercial power came back online, there was a transfer switch in the generator that burned up, and so there's two transfer switches, one in the tower and one for the airfield lighting. And the one in the tower worked as it should. The one for the airfield lighting did not. That's the one that burned up. So after several phone calls with the technicians, we were able to manually switch back to commercial power. So we only had to run generator power that first night. However, we're still in a situation whereas if we lost power today, I would have to respond to go out there and manually switch the generator on. So it's possible that we'd be out without airfield lighting for 20, 25 minutes if something happened, just as long as I can get out there and switch it back on. We're hoping to have that back up as soon as we get parts. Hopefully we're back up and running full speed with the next week or so. But
Was that just a part failure, or was it a design failure of the backup end system?
So when the commercial power came on, it physically burnt up the transfer switch, potentially the processing board as well.
Yeah.
So we're waiting on Genset, who is our vendor, to come back out and finish a load bank test on it, as well as replacing the transfer switch and the processing board,
Okay.
hopefully within the next week.
Okay.
So when are we going to get the AWAS fixed back online?
yeah, that's the $1 million question. They came out and got some parts, but there's still, I think, one more part that they actually have to go send back to the manufacturer. I can't remember exactly which part that was, but we don't have an exact date, unfortunately.
But soon?
As soon as we can, as soon as they can.
You want a date, don't you?
Anything else on that? Any questions?
Okay.
We already went over this, so I won't, but basically just sufficient to say that this is an area where we really are putting our focus and attention, because some of this stuff has really got to stop, because we have a huge waiting list, we have huge demand, and really there's just no excuse. So we're working hard on this. Make sure that this is rectified, and we're also screening better in the beginning. We had no real process in place to ensure somebody had an aircraft or we weren't paying attention. I found so that moving forward, this is something that we're looking at. When we got somebody new moving into a hangar, I need to see an aircraft, I need to see it's registered, I need to see, proof of ownership, insurance, all these things. And really, we're not doing anything new. We're just following the rules that have already been set out and set in place and that are outlined in the lease. And that's really what we're trying to do is just
Well, I
keep
think-
everybody honest.
I think it's safe to say that you've got our full support, okay, in doing whatever you need to do to resolve those kinds of situations, okay?
And when I open a hangar door and I see that,
Well, with 101 on the list waiting.
Right.
Definitely. yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And really, that's all I had. I know, I'm sorry we went over long, but I just wanted to give you an update.
Okay.
One question. Is there any progress on the secondary air conditioning for the tower?
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Absolutely there is. In fact, we just met so that the air conditioning system that was approved by the, let's see, when was that? It's been about a month since it was approved, I think. And we're moving forward with that. We're putting 2 Mitsubishi units in the tower. We're told these are the top of the line, that they're going to just keep them as cold as they want to be. Not too cold, but they might be a little too cold. They've been used to being hot, so they're very excited. We anticipate this to be done in the next 30 days. So we're coordinating closely with the contractor. We're going to have a crane out there for a day or two. The whole process will take probably about 3 to 4 days because all the wiring they got to do, they got to run new electric. But they're actually going to, these 2 units that we're putting in are going to use far less electricity than the units that's there now. So it's very exciting. And yes, way more efficient. Thank you for bringing that up.
It'll be interesting to see because I think that's single pane glass in there now, and the feedback that I've gotten from the guys in the tower is that it's brutal. It's absolutely, late afternoon is just brutal. So,
And we're on the list too, we're fingers crossed, toes crossed, whatever, that we can get bill money for the tower in the next year or two. Because Jim can tell you that there's some things that need to be, especially that glass, like you mentioned, the windows. There's some upgrades that need. I think that building is now 20 years old. The tower, Jim, we're talking about. So,
is that in the plan, in the master plan for a upgrade of the tower for? Because it would have to reduce cost as well. I mean, it makes sense when you do your house and you upgrade your windows and seals and doors and all that kind of stuff. There's savings that go along with that.
yes. It's a part of the bipartisan infrastructure loan that's out. There's one just specifically for towers that we're going after, and we're hopeful that we get it.
Okay.
Can you not put a film over the glass? In other words, for the tower, where it's a reflective?
We have something now that's a shade that gives us some protection. We have to have for that. But until then, I don't know if there'd be any specs for that or not.
Okay.
I mean, it would be easy. I can tell you somebody quickly that can do it in one day. If you want that.
Definitely something to think about. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it seems like I know your plate is very full, but you can't let that stuff just keep waiting in the wings when it's the control tower. So I think what we might be looking for is there grant money associated with that you were just saying with control tower upgrades as part of the infrastructure that we could be going after to?
No, we are.
Okay.
We are. I think the window for applying for that is, there's so many grants we've applied for recently. Forgive me.
Yesterday, Jack said that we should hear back by November, I believe he said.
On the tower. There's a lot of money out there and General Aviation is trying for more. I don't know if you heard, but the Naples director of aviation over there was just testifying before Congress that, hey, thanks for the money, but we need more for general aviation. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Especially towers.
Okay.
Now, is the air conditioning the only thing the tower is on their wish list? Jim Ziegler, is there anything else that would be on your wish list for the tower?
There probably is, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by a pretty big issue.
Oh, okay.
The time cannot be worse, you and I have to have a conversation immediately after this meeting.
Okay.
Okay, and, it's not, so, yes, we always have issues with our, we would like to improve. Right, off the top of my head, my mind's someplace else.
Okay, are we done with airport manager comments?
Yeah.
Okay. AAB member comments? Jeffrey?
I don't have any.
I don't think I do either. I thought we had a good discussion about stuff that's happening, and we appreciate the hard work that you folks are putting in. I hope you can get your open positions filled fairly quickly. Is there any, just one question, is there any more look at any more airport staff for you guys to, or is there anything in there to help with the workload that you guys are carrying right now? Because we see it. We see everything that's going on with the grant applications and the day-to-day operational support for the facility. Are you guys staffed appropriately?
Well, that's a great question. You know, and I'm still, I don't know that I'm ready to answer that. We did just add, with me coming on board in January, we were at 2, we were at 3, and then Adam left, and now we filled with Jacob. So time will tell. I'd say down the road, that's probably something we have to look at. But since we just added one person to our hourly staff. I think within the last year, we've added one person to the hourly staff and one person to the management team. So, or Adam, I guess, came on board. Well, it's been 2 years. So I think as we get more hangars, we're definitely, if we build any more T hangars, we're going to need somebody to help us full time with those hangars, because just that alone, the management of the T hangars, you know, is a big job. And then we have grants, and then we have reception, and Tammy's doing, you know, we're all wearing a couple different hats. You know, we're operations and we're trying to run the airport. So there's some days it feels like whack-a-mole for sure. You know, but we try to prioritize and sharing with you all kind of where we're at kind of helps bring to the surface, you know, the importance of certain projects versus others. Okay. And now, I think time will tell.
Okay. Keep up the good job. Any comments?
No, sir.
Ms. Miser. Celeste, do you have any comments? Garen?
Stuff that I'm giving you.
I've got nothing, call it.
Okay. Next meeting date?
That is October 27th, in here at 2 o'clock.
And I move that the meeting be closed.
I
Or
second it.
adjourned.
Adjourned. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Meeting adjourned.